So we are delighted to highlight Dr. Ibraheem Olasupo, a postdoctoral research scholar in the Department of Horticulture Science at NC State University. Originally from Nigeria, Ibraheem brings a global perspective and deep curiosity about plant science to his research and academic community. We are delighted to learn more about his background, what inspires him in his journey into horticulture, and his goals for the future. So thank you so much, Ibraheem, for your time. We're very excited to learn more about you.
Thank you for having me. I feel honored to be here today.
We want to just start off by asking you if you could please tell us a little bit about where you're from and what it was like growing up in Nigeria.
Again, thank you for having me. I was born in Nigeria, as probably you know, a very beautiful country which is endowed with both human and natural resources. We are actually the largest Black nation on earth, with a population of about at least 220 million people, out of which about 60% are youth. So you can feel the high energy coming from Nigeria anytime you feel in Nigeria. But agriculture used to be the mainstay of the economy, the cocoa trade, the rubber trade, which are mostly, transatlantic. Until crude oil was found, the attention of the government and actually shifted. Then agriculture, became just a way of life of people. We have a lot of arable land, and it's very hard that from the north to the south, it's very hard that you find a family without an agricultural land, be they into animal husbandry or crop production or something in between, trading, processing. So until recently, I think the government and the private sector actually looked into repositioning agriculture back into where it was. That's a business, So not just a culture, but now the agripreneur, right? So you now see a lot of policy change, interventions, and innovations in the agricultural landscape, and towards making it a vibrant industry once again. And Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava in the world, and a lot of byproducts come from that. So happily, we have some companies in the country now that even go into the processing, not just production. So after my high school education, I attended Wesley College of Science in Ibadan, where I was born. That's Oyo State of Nigeria. I wanted to become a soldier. I always see myself as a very disciplined person, and I wanted to protect my people, but that did not work out for me. I realized that there's a lot of complications around becoming, a soldier. Then I don't know whether the system has changed now. So I finished my high school exam. So I was just enjoying in Lagos with a family friend, just like a vacation, like a transition, between high school and whatever you want to do afterwards. So I received a call from my dad. Hey, Ibrahim, the form is out to, there's a college, there's a monotechnic, we call it. It's Federal College of Agriculture, Ibadan. They call the place More Plantation. So he informed me that the form is out, and if I was interested in studying agriculture, they could obtain the form for me. So I should just get ready to leave Lagos. I had to truncate my vacation, return to Ibadan, obtain the form, and I was slated for the admission interview. I was able to ace the interview. Then I was admitted into the National Diploma Program to study agricultural technology. So in the US, the National Diploma Program is equivalent to the Associate Degree Program, right? In my case, I studied agricultural technology, and I was the best student. I was the best graduating student at graduation, actually. In the whole of the department, I had the best result, and I got a lot of awards. So I was like, okay, what's the next thing to do? I was always encouraged by people around to think through life, and I love associating with the elderly ones because I believe they have a lot of experience and wisdom to guide us. So I didn't usually have much friends that are of my age. I had a lot of friends that are older than me. So I proceeded to the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, also in Nigeria. So I actually applied for aquaculture and fisheries technology. That was my first choice. And my second choice, of course, was animal production and health technology. But I was offered soil science and land management. So even though the whole of these three programs are still within the agricultural landscape, but that was not my interest. I knew nothing about soil science. And I felt like, wait, I got a distinction from my national diploma, the associate degree program. So that gave me some confidence that I think I merited, I think I should merit the course of choice that I wanted. But that didn't work out. So I was advised again by elders around that, hey, just take the soil science. You don't know what God has in plan for you. So I accepted it, though reluctantly. I finished that successfully. Also, I had a second class upper division. We call it 2-1 in Nigeria. But within me, I still felt that something was lacking because soil science is very broad, just like horticulture is. You have the field of soil physics, soil chemistry, soil microbiology, soil fertility and crop nutrition. You have mineralization and so on, soil and land conservation. So I was in soil physics myself. So it was like, instead of my interest in applied research, I was more into basic research, right? Which for me was too fundamental, right? I wanted something related to production of food because I enjoyed growing crops like cucumber, watermelon, groundnut, that's peanut. And I had some exposure into the oil palm plantation, cocoa plantation along the line also. So it's something that always is thought somewhere in my head that I want to get into production. After my first degree, I took an admission application for a master's degree in horticulture. And that's kind of a game changer for me because since my master's degree in horticulture, the same university, Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, in Nigeria, 6 years after, I got a PhD admission again, at the Chinese Academy of Agricultural Sciences in Beijing, that's in China, where I was until 2021, that I was able to finish. And I came to the US in 2023 again to still work on horticulture, now strawberries.
I find that is so just neat how it almost seems like it was meant to be. You've had things that you planned and you hope for, but life has a way of leading you to where you need to be. And yeah, that's great. And I love that, faith is obviously very important, and all that also, I think, helps make decisions. And great. Well, so you did tell us, kind of what sparked your interest. And would you say there was a specific person or event that inspired you to pursue this specific field, or do you think it was just many different people that encouraged you, or was it just one person?
I always say this, that I'm a proud product of mentorship, and I'm not shy to say that anyway, actually, because number one, everything I have become or whatever I am today, I owe it to God Almighty. Thereafter, every mentor that has contributed to my success. So, to the question, my parents did a lot in exposing me to agriculture and my siblings, because I'm a first of 3 boys with my parents. So being the first, of course, comes with a lot of responsibility. You have to lead the way, right? My father had a fish farm. He would take us to the farm. As the eldest, I would go first. We'll go to the fish farm. We'll prepare the food, the feed stock for the fishes. And along the line, we're working. Whenever you get tired, you get, kind of sick of going to the farm, my father would say, there is dignity in labor. Right. So don't be lazy. There is dignity in labor. So that always kept me moving, even though I didn't really comprehend, the scope and depth of that statement. But it means to me that never get tired. So I would say that really laid the foundation in me, as a high schooler, about agriculture. Then during my national diploma program, we had to do some scientific research as part of our requirement for graduation, and I was supervised by someone who I hold very dearly to me also. I just want to run you through some key mentors. There are so many actually, but some key figures who have shaped my interest and contributed to my interest in agriculture, in plants, and in horticulture. So my first research supervisor, that's Professor Latif Bamidele Tayo, is late now, actually, of blessed memory. He worked with the Institute of Agricultural Research and Training, also at Ibadan in Nigeria. And he was a soil microbiologist. Then fast forward, interestingly, all these mentors happen to be my research supervisors. So I have been lucky to have very wonderful people to supervise my research right from my associate degree level up to PhD, up to postdoc. All right. Even though postdoc is not a degree, but it's still a form of training, right? So after my associate degree program, that's the national diploma program in Nigeria, I was supervised also for my first degree program in soil science and land management by a renowned soil physicist. His name is Professor Johnson Adesoju. So also at the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta in Nigeria. So I was mentored without losing my intellectual capability, all right? It's one thing to be curious. It's another thing to be mentored by somebody who could attend to your curiosity without damaging your own intellectuality, right? When you have somebody who is a supervisor but forces you to do things in their own way alone, that's not mentorship actually. So I can't say it enough. I've been fortunate to be mentored by people who respect my dignity and also teach me or show me how to do things, all right? They guide me in a way that I can also synthesize solutions without necessarily being spoon-fed and without necessarily being coerced to do things. Then at the master's level, I was supervised by Professor Isaac Oreoluwa Ayelagbe, who is a renowned international, horticulturist. He served at a point as a board member of the International Society for Horticultural Science, which is the largest body of horticultural scientists in the world. Then in China, during my PhD, I was supervised by Professor Chao Sen-He, who also took me like a son, even though I was the only international student, the only international PhD student working with him at that time. But I really, enjoyed working in protected agriculture, that's greenhouse vegetable production under him. And currently, Professor Mark Hoffman, who is my mentor, as you all know, has been a very wonderful mentor to me. And many times we relate as friends, even though he's 10 years older than me. But that's just to tell you how, great mentors are. They come down to your level and they make life easy for you. He has very high standards of service delivery. He is committed to excellence, and he opened my mind into, another scope of horticulture that I was not conversant with, and that is indoor propagation of strawberries.
Your dad saying, the dignity in labor, I think that really has helped just, with your work ethic. And it's amazing that you've had such great mentors throughout your entire journey. And that's really special.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. It's so interesting. And I'm sure it was very different moving from Nigeria to China, and now here in the United States. Which leads us kind of to our next question is, what led you to choose NC State to continue your education?
Good question. I would answer it this way. I was attracted to NC State by Dr. Mark Hoffman, and I didn't know NC State before. I knew him before knowing NC State.
He's
Right.
going to be so proud to hear that, that it was more him than NC State.
Honestly, it was him. I would say that my research about NC State was really in depth when I was going for my visa interview at the US Embassy in Nigeria. For some people it's the whole way around, right? They know the school first, then they search for a PI that they want to work to, but mine wasn't that way. It was during my my third year of PhD at the Chinese Academy of Agricultural Sciences in Beijing, China, that a friend of mine saw an advert. That's my friend is Dr. Taufik Moraina. He's also a postdoc at the Texas State University in the US presently. So we both did our PhD in China, and he's also from Nigeria. So, but again, that also underscores the need or the importance of having good people around you, and try to be good too, right? Because I see friendship as something that needs to be serviced, right? So it's a commitment by all parties involved. So this is a friend that we share opportunities together. And if I'm the one that sees an opportunity, I send it to him that I know is useful for him. And if he's the one that sees it first, sees any opportunity that he thinks it benefits me, he sends it to me first. And interestingly, we are not even in the same field, so there is no competition. So he saw this advert from Mark Hoffman's lab to recruit a PhD student. So it was a crazy decision, actually. I was a third year PhD student, and I was interested in starting another PhD, right? So yeah, I applied and I was slated for an interview. So the interview was conducted by Mark Hoffman himself and Emma Volk, our former project research assistant, I think. So it went well. A 1 hour interview actually lasted about 2 hours. So that gave me some kind of I don't know, some kind of relative preparedness that perhaps I'm the candidate for the job. Until during the interview, it did feature that, what are you doing presently? I told him I'm a third year PhD student. So Mark was like, do you mean you're going to truncate an ongoing PhD to start another one? I said, yes, I didn't mind. Oh, it was like, During that, yeah, it was not, he said, well, it could not stop me, but he really think I should think through it, that he doesn't think it is worth, truncating a PhD and starting all over. But I told him also otherwise that I was really interested in anything about controlled environment agriculture. Given my little experience in the Nigerian industry, because I'd worked in Nigeria as hydroponics agronomist in a private company, actually, owned by a Dutch. So I really wanted to continue in that. I was doing greenhouse production in my PhD, research for my PhD research in China, but it wasn't on strawberry, right? So I saw strawberry again as something attractive to me, that, hey, I want to do something differently, right? Something different this time. Long story short, I received a mail from him after the interview that the position had been offered to another candidate, and I think oftentimes I take those news as good news for me, even though it didn't turn out positive as I wanted. But I remember I mailed him back that I take it in good faith and I'm still optimistic to join your lab some days. So I didn't know how. So I kept checking his website. I kept checking his handle. Then I connected with him on LinkedIn. I connected to his Yeah, I bookmarked his project website on my browser, and I kept checking. It didn't get to me again after that time, and we didn't really communicate, any longer after that time. But I was always checking, and for the next 2 years, I was checking because I saw two adverts. I saw your position, and I saw a postdoc position. That's project. I saw two. So those two positions were not open at the time I did the PhD interview. So the project manager position and the postdoc position, but they were highlighted. So that gave me hope that maybe that's for me. One of them is for me. So when the post was advertised, like I said, I didn't hear directly from Mark, but like I said, I always check, like weekly, I would check that website to see what's new there. So I saw it, I applied the same day. So I was I was ready. Can imagine waiting for an opportunity for 2 years, right?
Yes. I remember I sat in on your interview, and after the interview, we were so excited because we
Wow.
could just, yeah, we knew that you were the right person for this job. So
Thank
we
you.
were, and I didn't know the whole story. I didn't know that, you had applied, and then
Yeah,
two
yeah.
years later, see that determination, and yeah, and it's
Thank
meant
you.
to be, Ibrahim,
It
meant to be.
is. Exactly.
So, the next question, can you share a bit about your current research? What are you studying, and why is it important?
My role actually is kind of central to the entire PIP-CAP project. I will explain why. So the entire project was born out of the need to have the technology to produce clean transplants or propagals of strawberry, clean of viruses, which is among the major problems in the conventional strawberry nurseries in the US. Not just clean, but guaranteeing year-round production and product that is fit for both the controlled environment agriculture industry and the conventional strawberry industry, which is the open field. Hinging on this very foundation, there is need to have for the project itself to have our own nursery that produces the different cultivars of strawberry that will be used for the project for years to come. So for the first time in Raleigh, we were able to set up an indoor strawberry nursery, and I was the person to manage it. So it was something, and this is an industry. The strawberry industry, according to my last check, is worth the farm gate value is worth more than $2.3 billion. All right, and this is quite huge. Of course, the nursery itself, the nursery industry is quite lesser than that, but without the seed, you cannot have the fruit, right? So there is a need for, clean transplants of strawberry to keep the industry going, to make it more resilient, and more importantly, the ever-evolving controlled environment agriculture industry needs something that is guaranteed to be clean to keep running. All right, so I was in charge of managing the nursery. That was Grafted Growers, where we started from here in Raleigh, and keeping the few cultivars running, producing strawberry transplants, harvesting them, keeping them in the optimized, nursery conditions, and rooting them out to produce plug plants, and supplying our collaborators who do different kind of research from genomics to optimization of controlled environment technology to production of fruits to all kinds of interest around the strawberry propagation technology. So Michael, I must mention, Michael Palmer was really helpful, to set up the nursery before I came, because I had a lot of delay on my visa processing in Nigeria before I resumed. So that credit belongs to Michael. We kept it running. So the national scale field research actually involved, number one, trying out, experimenting how the controlled environment plug plants would behave on the field when they are planted on the fruit or growers field, in terms of the fruit yield. And number two, we also thought of ways to improve the vigor of the plants when they are planted on the field. So we introduced artificial chilling conditioning, so which literatures actually have proven that it could, improve the vigor of the plants, and by implication, it could improve the yield of the plants. So we tried this research in 4 different locations here in North Carolina, at San Luis Obispo in Central California, at Ventura in Southern California, and in Florida. So we had these are among the major strawberry production belts in the United States, with California alone producing more than 90% of the entire strawberry produced in the US, right? So they are the leader in the industry. That's why we had 2 locations in Central California and Southern California. So I was directly in charge of that also, not just to supply, transplants to these to our amazing collaborators and scientists in these different locations, but also to follow through, data collection, work with them, collaborate with them on communicating the data with me, developing protocols for data collection. We are currently working on publication of the results. On the third prong of my major responsibilities actually is the phenotyping experiment. So the PIP-CAP, our project, has 13 cultivars of interest, and there is no record in scientific literature that these cultivars have been characterized for their runnering potentials and capabilities. So how do they runner in a controlled environment? How do they produce daughter plants? How much do they produce? What are the time series or the pattern of their production of daughter plants? All these are not known. So we intend to contribute this to scientific body of knowledge, and building on that, we also intend to actually unravel the genomic characteristics of these different cultivars. So there is an interest to match or correlate the genomics data with the phenotyping data that I am directly in charge of, in a way to help develop some insights that would assist strawberry breeding, now and in the future. So it's quite important to note that improving the resilience of the strawberry industry in the United States has a lot of benefits. On one side, the conventional strawberry industry really needs access to sustainable, clean transplant production. There's no doubt about that. It has been said a zillion of times, even with from our interaction with the industry partners, among scientists, and so on. There's a consensus about that. And then there's a need to reduce the dependence on methyl bromide, which is a soil fumigant that is non-biodegradable in the soil and has a lot of detrimental effects in the environment. So if we have the controlled environment propagated strawberry transplants, that could reduce the dependence of the strawberry growers on methyl bromide on one side. And methyl bromide is also gradually being phased out by the United States Environmental Protection Agency. And of course, there's a timely and pertinent need for an alternative to this, because it's a chemical that works in the industry, right?
So you talked about the need to reduce the fumigant methyl bromide and the need to have cleaner plants. Does your research connect either agriculturally or environmentally to the challenges outside of the US, like in Nigeria or globally?
Something beautiful about controlled environment agriculture is that it is directly reproducible. anywhere in the world. If you have the protocol handy, you know the right temperature, you know the right humidity, you know the right light combination, the light intensity, the light duration, and so on. These are the protocols you need, right, to replicate anywhere you are in the world. On the other area is what I mentioned about the whole benefit for the traditional or the conventional strawberry nursery also. Strawberry is so much more an international commodity in the US itself. So you would also see a lot of fruits coming from Mexico during some parts of the year. So itself, it's an international commodity. So the technology we are developing is not just impactful on the US soil. We have collaborators from all around the world on the project, including Canada, where most of the transplants that come from outside the US come from. And the technology we are developing is cherished by them. I believe from time to time they give us feedbacks as to how we can improve what we are doing to suit their need better. Internationally, I strongly believe that this technology our research has potentials of being very impactful globally, because like I said, US is not the only one that grows strawberry in the world. So, for example, I think China produces the largest volume of strawberries in the world, right? And there's a lot of production going on there in other parts of North America, in Europe, even in Africa, right? So, especially in northern part of Africa. So this is a research that is going to inspire a lot of development, translate to a lot of reproducible, solutions, across the world.
At the beginning of this interview, you discussed how you wanted to work on production and food, and this is what you're doing. So that's wonderful. I kind of want to ask you, to be looking ahead after you are done, with NC State, and what are your goals, both with your research, and then if you want to discuss any, personal goals, but what do you want to do? What's your next steps for Ibraheem?
Looking back, I think having worked for 6 years as a lecturer, I've worked 2 years as a research scientist. I've worked like 2 years at least as a producer in the industry, in the agricultural industry. I strongly feel that I want to return back to the industry. Yeah. Yeah. I feel that's where I belong, right? And yeah, I'm still consulting actually, because I think I've invested more time in research, in the academic research especially, than in the industry, even though I'm not a newcomer in the industry if I join tomorrow. But then I've worked as an agronomist even in the hydroponics industry before. And I believe I enjoyed what I was exposed to there. And I like a real world existence, right? If that makes sense. So I think my little experience is still very little, right? Working for that's cumulative of 10 years in research industry and so on, is still very little compared to, my mentors. But I think I love translating research to working solutions. And I think I should be somewhere there in between scientists and industry players. So perhaps a role of R&D may be ideal for me. And even if it comes as a production manager or something, I'm very open to that as well. And I'm also working towards floating my own company.
Excellent. That would be wonderful. And I think, Ibrahim, even if you do, go to industry, I can still see you continuing your teaching, like with the youth. I know that's very important to you, and
That's true.
you do such a great job with that. So I
Thank
think
you.
there is room for everything.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I really enjoy doing that because I believe that some of the some of the biggest rewards or something I see very gratifying for me during my research here with you guys is something you just mentioned, my extension work. And even though my academic extension work is not as deep as my community extension work, right? So I won an award. I had a first place in the first ever North Carolina postdoctoral, research symposium in 2024. That's more academic kind of, but I had a very diverse audience to translate my research to. And aside from that, I collaborated with the North Carolina Science Festival team, which is based in the at UNC Chapel Hill. So I had some hands-on engagement with middle schoolers at the Wake Young Men's Leadership Academy, which is a public school in North Carolina, and it was a very wonderful, experience for me. I took big mother plant of strawberry to their classroom, and they were like, "Wow, we have a farm in our classroom!" And these are guys that have never touched strawberry plants before, and seeing a 2-year-old mother of strawberry with a lot of stolons and runners on them, and they had the opportunity to, root their own strawberry. It was very, very fulfilling for them. And I also had an opportunity to stage a kind of a show for younger kids, actually between the ages of 2 and like 14 at the Kids Museum here in North Carolina in Raleigh. And I also had an opportunity to engage the religious body. So I'm Muslim, right? So where I pray is the Islamic Association of Raleigh, and the education committee invited me at some point to hold a seminar on my research at NC State. I took the opportunity immediately. Right. So, I engage with those local community to, I think I just believe that research, we should continue to bridge the gap between the gown and the town, all right? And let's let the society generally see how it is important that we do what we do, and why should they care about it? And of course, this is playing out a lot with a lot of things that scientists don't have to always cry that their funding are cut and so on. If the society knows the value of the science we do, the society can also fight for us as we are also fighting for sustaining, good efforts to do good research. And randomly, I get engaged at the plant science building here also at NC State. Whenever I'm working in my greenhouse, you see kids, they come on as a group, for tours, and whoever is conducting them can ask me to speak about my research for 2 minutes to them. It's always something that makes me happy to do. And I look out for more opportunities to continue doing that. That was a day I was just at the lobby going for lunch. I was very hungry that day. And a mother and a 12 grader actually approached me. "Hey, do you work here?" I said, "Yes." "In the plant science?" I said, "Yes." "Can you please walk us through your research?" I said, "Why not? Let's go." Believe me, for the next 40 minutes, I was engaging them, from the fourth floor where we have the growth chambers to the fifth floor where we have the real plants growing in the greenhouse. It was very gratifying. And in all honesty, that little effort, even though I was hungry, that little effort actually gave me my first mentee in North Carolina, actually. The lady, the 12, grader eventually became my mentee. She mails me once in a while to ask questions about plant science because she wanted to become a plant scientist also.
That speaks again of your work ethic and your passion to, yeah,
Thank you
that's
very much.
wonderful. So the last one is just what advice would you give to other international students or scientists considering a similar path? You spoke about your determination, but is there any other advice you would give them?
Yeah, as an international, you would be faced with challenges. Mine was a bit mild, coming to the US because I already had international exposure before. This is not the first time I would step out of my home country. So living in China for about 4 years was a great experience for me. I met perhaps people from all over the world. I was not, I mean, the only international student. So I would say that abilities to, or kind of a mindset to see challenges as opportunities is very important, right? I remember Amanda, if you remember her. Amanda was a research assistant here in the lab when I came, and my first few days when I came in, she brought me a very nice table. She was like, I had to pause and say, Amanda, why did you do this? She said, it's very brave for someone to leave his or her own home country to come to somewhere you don't know anybody. And she just feels she could help in that little way. And I cannot also forget what you brought for me also. I still use those towels till now. Thank you for the beautiful towels. And I remember Alexa also offered me a mattress. Thanks so much, Alexa. Shout out. Mark Hoffman brought me some cutleries. I still use them till date. Thank you. So, that experience, as funny as it may look, being alone, stepping out of your own home country as an international scholar can be very challenging. So having that mindset to turn challenges into opportunities is very key. The second and the last thing I would mention as an advice for upcoming scientists, especially internationals, is anyone actually in the field of science or any walk of life, is never to underestimate the value of mentorship. Right? You need to be humble enough to be teachable. It's not easy. Sometimes your mentor is younger than you in age. He or she has different dispositions than you. So you really need to have good listening ability. And I believe listening ability is something that is lacking, especially in the younger generations nowadays, because I think they are more motivated towards speaking than listening. And when many people listen, they listen to react, not listen to understand, which is very problematic, actually. So when you are lucky to have a good mentor, you also need to be humble to take mentorship. That's my closing remark. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibrahim. We need to put that on a plaque, Yes, it's so true. Very, very true. Being humble and listening more. I think you need to add writing a book on your things to do, with giving all the wonderful pieces of advice that you have learned throughout your journey.
I'll consider that. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to work here. This is the first time I would work in the US, and I believe it's quite an amazing opportunity. United States of America is a great country. It's full of opportunities for those who can see and those who are guided by God's light. And working with very amazing people, including your humble selves, has been very rewarding for me. I cannot be grateful enough. Right. Like I said, I just consider myself to be lucky, being mentored by very great people. Lizette was right talking about writing a book. I actually want to write one and make each of my mentors a chapter. individual chapter, standalone, and talk about my experience and what I learned from them. The diversity in our lab is something to write about separately, you know. It's not so common, right? And you would see that yes, Mark is not here, but maybe you will see this later. So let me talk freely. Because I know he will keep me quiet if he's here. You know, I think it's a deliberate effort by the PI himself, Mark Hoffman, to make this happen. It cannot be accidental, right? So we have the diversity, we have the true diversity, we have the true love of humanity running in all of us, and that keeps us going, you know, every time. For the past 2.5 years, our job is not simple. It's tough, you know, from you communication, from the manager who manages all of us and our money, from us who do the research and the research students. It's so hard, and I mean, I've not heard since the time I came that anybody quit the job because it was too hard. You know, something must have kept them propelling, right? Something must have catalyzed and reassured them to remain in the system. And we give that kudos to the leadership. Mark Hoffman is a great leader, right? So let him see this later. I'm happy I said it.
أموبيا يا جزاك الله خيرا لما قدمت للإسلام خدمة لما قدمت للإسلام خدمة لقد أحسنت في قول وفهم وصرت مؤدبا علما وعلما وصرت مؤدبا علما وعلما أموبيا يا جزاك الله